Hey, gun people. Um, this is I'm on the fence on this one. So they're not saying the officer's name, and they're not giving a bunch of information about the officer. So um, I don't I don't know about this one. I'm guessing the officer is not white. Otherwise, they would be blasting his picture and playing the race card. So since they're not playing the race card, I'm thinking the officer was black, which could go either way. Is he a quota hire that has had problems and they can't fire him and they can't get rid of him because they'll be called racist, or is it um, he's got bad training, or is he jumpy, or was he working a detail to where he would have reason to believe that he might get carjacked? So the detective saying he shot the guy because he was carjacked. The video doesn't show a whole bunch, but it shows a little bit.
Moments before an unarmed man was shot on a Philadelphia street. A Philadelphia police officer pulled the trigger. Tonight, we're learning more about what that officer was thinking before firing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Yuki Washington.
So they're saying what he was thinking, but obviously officers are always going to say I was in fear of my life when they get in a shooting. Anybody ever heard an officer say after they shot somebody, you know what, I just wanted to shoot somebody and I thought it would be kind of fun? Of course not. And the fact that this guy fired his gun inside his car through his window, I think is going to prove to help him.
Jessica Cartalia, that man who we're told has special needs, remains in the hospital tonight. Eyewitness News reporter Joe Holden joins us live from police headquarters with the very latest on this.
28-year-old listed in critical but stable condition in the hospital, suffering from a gunshot wound. The detective who police say fired upon him is on desk duty, and the elements of the case tonight very much in dispute. That's Joel Johnson walking down G Street. In this video, you can see his hands outstretched, something neighbors familiar with the special needs man have seen before.
Sometimes like he go like this, sometimes he put the quarter between his fingers and he go like this.
Okay, if you put the quarter between your fingers and you go like that, and you walk up to a cop at night, anybody, and start banging on their window with a shiny thing in your finger, is it reasonable that you could mistakenly think the guy has a gun? Maybe. I mean, it definitely goes in the officer's favor that this guy, what he was doing, holding a quarter a lot of the times, mentally challenged, and then they're going to have another witness here say he gets very aggressive and kicks cars and bangs on your glass. The officer saying, I thought I was being carjacked, I drew my gun and fired 4 times, killing the guy. Is this a mental issue case, or is this a lack of training or failure to have standards in the police department? It's hard to say.
This don't look like a gun to you, right? Does this look like a gun? He goes with a quarter like this. He don't say no word.
But police officials say a plainclothes detective who Johnson approached believed he was in danger and shot at him 4 times. Johnson was hit in the stomach.
Apparently, the detective thought that he was being carjacked at the time. He pulled his service weapon and discharged, striking a male.
That detective is now on desk duty.
Again, I think if this was a white detective, the police chief would have been saying the white detective believed he was. So I'm thinking this is a person of color is the detective. Of course, our crappy media that wants to hide the truth and work with government and pushing their agenda, they're not going to give us information so we can make an educated decision.
Pending the outcome of an internal affairs and officer-involved shooting investigation. The surveillance video was paused before the shots are fired. What we see is glass breaking and a puff of smoke at the moment of discharge. The video later picks up with Johnson on the ground. Much of the neighborhood is sympathetic to the man.
Kid is not a bad kid. He's just mentally.
Let's see, I got my burglary bag, my tats, and I don't want my face shown, man. I got a warrant. If they see me, I got a warrant. I know somebody's going to come here. You can't say that. Maybe he just didn't want to be. Then he shouldn't have been talking to the freaking media. You don't seek out a camera and then go, oh, I'll hide my face. That goes what we call credibility of the witness. That's why witnesses on the witness stand can't come in with hoods on and they don't show their face. So it goes to credibility. So somebody can come here and say, I got no right and I'm being judgmental, and just because a guy don't want his face shown, and just because he's got a tattoo, and just because he's taking a guy who's running around with a quarter between his fingers kicking and banging on cars, just because he's taking his side and they happen to be the same color, somehow this will be made into some racist issue, when in fact, if you look at it objectively, there's some funky stuff going on here, and this is a mental case issue. This is a lack of training. This is a officer shooting too easily and not being held accountable. This could be a failure to hire qualified people and keep qualified people. Again, I think with the left-wing media, as everyone knows it, if it was a white detective and they could make this a racial issue, that's all we would be seeing. When we don't see it, that means they can't make that claim.
Challenged, and he walks around the neighborhood not to do, I mean, doesn't get into no trouble, nothing.
But others paint a different, more complicated picture.
He's normally holding a quarter, and he kind of like shakes it at you.
Shows her face, gives her name. Credibility of the witness.
He'll bang on your windows. If you tell him no, he'll kick on your cars. So he can be very aggressive towards people.
This is a huge statement for the officer that shot the guy. When they're judging this on a reasonable standard, was it reasonable for this officer? The guy just walked up to his car and wanted to clean his windshield or ask for money. Well, you know, you shouldn't be walking with cars in this day and age. Cars get jacked. If the detective is working with a gang unit, he's undercover, and that may be why they're not showing his face, it doesn't matter. If he's working in a job to where he's buying dope and doing things, he could have been worried about getting carjacked. He could have been worried about his cover. He could have been worried about this being a hit. Sees a guy with his fingers pointed forward and something shiny on the end of his fingers. You know, if and buts and coconuts, it's hard to tell. Unfortunately, our loss of trust and confidence in government and the media, you know, our default, if you got two brain cells, your default position should be government was wrong. Government exercised power, and they should have to prove otherwise. But who knows how to play out? You guys can argue it out in the comments, I guess. Well, and out there,